Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to Tuesday, February 14th. Will everybody please rise? Oh, no, wait, I'm doing that backwards. It's backwards day. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hillenbeck?
Here.
Mr. Cirillo?
Here.
Mr. Allen is absent with prior notice. Mrs. Bowman? Here. Mr. Kovitz? Here. Mrs. Lafferty? Here. Mr. Rodriguez? Here. Mr. Sporny?
Here.
And Mr. Sullivan is also absent with prior notice. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment issues related to labor relations, the purchase or lease of real property, matters related to litigation, and matters related to school safety and security. The board also had an executive session on February 10th to discuss personnel issues. Any announcement, Mrs. Burns?
There were no announcements.
Dr. McGee, Superintendent's report.
Thank you. First, in board docs is the February enrollment report. Normally I say status quo, but this month again we raised. We're up 33 students from last month, and we're pushing closer to 10,000. So up 400 or 500 since the start of, or this time in past years. So that is a point to watch and for us to prepare for. And I'm going to yield the rest of my time to Dr. Kane to spend a few minutes briefing the entire board as to how he briefed Ed Development on the reorganization of the Pupil Services Department.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. So on the board for the board, or on the screen for the board, is what the current configuration is of the Pupil Services Department, with 3 supervisors of special education and 1 supervisor of pupil services, and the duties underneath each supervisor. What we proposed at the Ed Development meeting is on this next slide. This is adding one additional supervisor of special education for special programs K-12. That supervisor will have K-12 oversight of our autistic support, life skills support, MDS, and specialized learning support. That's a new position. The board also replaced a position which is there in purple. It is a middle management position, the PIMS coordinator. So there will now be 5 supervisors, including the supervisor of pupil services, and I will address any questions that the board might have. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. We do have a few resolutions to approve tonight. Mrs. Bowman.
So I'd like to make a motion for Resolution 2.01, Administrative Staff Appointments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following appointments of administrative staff. And there is 1 employee on there, Mary Agnes DeSico.
There's a motion on the floor. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cirillo. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes 7-0. I'd like to take this time to welcome you to Neshaminy. I'm sure Dr. McGee is going to say something as well.
I was going to say the same thing. Welcome, Mary Agnes, and we look forward to working with you.
Mrs. Lafferty?
I'd like to make a motion 2.02, certified staff appointments.
Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following appointments for certified staff. There's one name on our list.
There's been a motion on the floor. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes 7-0. Mr. Cirillo.
I'd like to make a motion for 2.03, support staff appointments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following appointments for support staff, and there are two names listed.
There is a motion on the floor. May I have a second, please? Second by Mr. Kovitz. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes 7-0. Mr. Rodriguez.
I'd like to make a motion on 2.04, Sunday facility usage. Whereas according to the board policy number 800, facilities, fields may not be scheduled on Sundays without school board approval. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves Sunday usage for Langhorne Athletic Association has requested Sunday usage for Maple Point Middle School's gymnasium on Sunday, February 19th, 2023.
There is a motion on the floor. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lafferty. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes 7-0. Mr. Sporny, please.
I'd like to make a motion, 2.05, second reading of policy. Whereas the first reading of policy series 100 was completed at the January 24th, 2023 public board meeting, and whereas the following board policies are being recommended by the policy committee for a second reading and final adoption into the Neshaminy School District Policy Manual. Now therefore be it resolved that Neshaminy School Board of Directors hereby approves the policies noted below for final adoption into the Neshaminy School District Policy Manual, and that includes sections 102, 105.2, 110, and 124, with 4 files attached.
There's been a motion on the floor. May I have a second, please? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes 7-0. Our next meeting is February 28th. The items for approval at the public meeting will be 3.01, routine business matters, 3.02, Sunday facility usage, 3.03, refunding of 2015 Series A and C bonds, 3.04, Neshaminy High School Field Project change orders, 3.05, builder's risk insurance, 3.06, elementary school at the Maple Point campus change order, 3.07, block scheduling consultant agreement, 3.08, student settlement agreement, 3.09, homebound instruction, 3.10, out-of-district placements, 3.11, student service agreement with Woods, 3.12, Bayada School Nursing Service Agreement, 3.13, overnight trips, 3.14, BCIU number 22, board appointment, 3.15, BCIU 22, 2023 through 2024, program and services and instructional materials and research services budget, 3.16, reaffirm COVID-19 health and safety plan, 3.17, 2023-2024 student school year calendar. We have a lot to go over next meeting. If I could ask Mr. Irwin if he could give us some clarification of 3.03, the refunding of the 2015 Series A and C bonds, please.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to take this opportunity just to, as I will not be here, at the regular voting meeting on the 28th. But if, in 2015, the district issued bonds, debt in effect, for Tawanka and refinanced some bonds at that time. And so we have two series of 2015, A and C, in the cumulative amount of approximately $45 million. So there's a 44-page resolution attached to this motion that is setting the maximum parameters because after 8 years of the bonds being paid to the bondholders, there's an opportunity for them to be refinanced. And so we're looking ahead. This can't be done until July of 2023, so we're trying to be proactive here, looking at interest rates rising so that we can have these parameters in place. If the current conditions hold with interest rates, we have an opportunity to save a net $1.5 million at today's interest rates. And that money would be, what happens in this situation is the money comes directly to the school district, so there's a net savings of $1.5 million at the time of the refinancing, and then your debt payments remain the same. So your budgetary, there's no budgetary savings in the future, but you have a net, you receive the net proceeds of the refinancing at that time.
So it's a one-time hit?
It's a one-time gain,
Gain,
savings of $1.5 million, if the current conditions hold.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Mr. Irwin or anything else that's going to be approved next?
Madam President, if I can just also
Yep.
provide some information on the builder's risk insurance, 3.05. With any construction project, while, you know, all the construction contractors are bonded and such, we are also not required, but it is good business practice to also have insurance on the event of anything that happens, including up to and including flood or an earthquake. So once the building gets out of ground and gets up out of the ground, if there would be a fire or any other catastrophic event, we now will have insurance once 305 is approved, effective March 1st of 2023, for anything that would be catastrophic event that would happen at the new elementary building being built at this place, at this site.
Thank
Any
you.
questions on that? And on 3.06, Gilmore has submitted a change order for additional engineering work that's required by the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority after the land development plans have been approved, and they're requesting reimbursement of $15,400 for that work that was required by the authority for the elementary building as well.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question about 3.04, the field development project at the high school. So I know that originally there was a scope, and we've since learned a lot of things. Could you give us an update on what we've learned, what's been added, taken away, changed overall?
Yeah, this project has been a long story, and one that potentially, if we were to do again, we would do it a little bit differently. But what has taken place is we began with a series of fields projects that was supposed to take place at the same time that we were going to bring together a field house project as well. But the two projects were done by two different architects. So we had a land architect, ELA, doing the fields project, and we had Spiesel doing the field house project. And as the fields progressed, and they have progressed, and they're doing, if you go out there today, the baseball field is done. We're expecting delivery of the dugouts next week. The site has been prepped and ready for. I wasn't out there today, but with the weather we've had recently, I believe that we're getting very close to turfing the softball field. We have the new field for the auxiliary field, as I call it, has lights, poles are up. We're waiting for Musco to come in and put their lights up. That field has been a little bit wetter, so we haven't had the opportunity to put the shell down on that. But one of the things that have happened is, we went from 4 lanes to 8 lanes, so that added a $450,000 expense to the track. I'm sorry, 6 lanes to 8 lanes. And in addition, one of the biggest things that took place was after the start of the fields project, the board decided not to reinvest in the existing concrete bleachers, but instead put up new bleachers. And that had an effect of changing, unfortunately, the electrical components of the project, where initially, and that coupled with the fact that the field house never got off the ground, we've had a disconnect on the electrical project, because initially the site, the field's architect believed that all the electrical would come through the field house, but without the field house yet starting, that can't happen in time for the lights to work and the scoreboard to work for football season and or graduation next year. So there's a change order that's coming to the board's attention tomorrow evening to adjust that. So there's been a lot of scope changes to this project, and it has been, because it's been done somewhat piecemeal, we've run into some issues related to cost overruns.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin.
In regards to that, and as well as some of the other issues that Mr. Irwin brought up, we are having a facilities meeting tomorrow at 6:30 in this room, if anybody would like to come out and have much more detail and into the weeds about it. Thank you. Committee reports, which is me. Business operations, we had a business operations meeting 2 weeks ago where we discussed at length the budget. It was just the first run of the budget, much more to come on that. The next business operations meeting will be March 29th in this room at 6:30.
Madam President, if I can also just add, for those who weren't at the last business operations meeting, I placed at their agenda, or at their place this evening, the booklet, the budget presentation that was presented at that meeting.
Thank you. Mrs. Bowman.
The Ed Development Committee met on January 17th and reviewed the following agenda items: the 2023-2024 school calendar, pupil services reorganization, which Mr. Kane, Dr. Kane had presented earlier, block scheduling, exploration status, English language development program expansion, pre-K counts grant application for renewal, exploration of automatic Bucks County Community College admission for juniors and seniors. We recommended the following items for approval: the 2023-2024 school calendar, consultant for block scheduling exploration, English language development program expansion with staffing and program changes, completion and submission of the new pre-K counts grant application. Our next Ed Development meeting will take place on March 21st at 6:30 here in the boardroom.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, who is the chair of the facilities committee, is not here tonight. Mr. Sporny, would you mind giving us a little update on anything that you could about the meeting tomorrow, please? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
You know what, I admittedly don't have the agenda in front of me, but we will be talking about, I'm sure, various aspects of the Fields project, of potentially next year's worth of facility improvements in general that our facilities lead has brought to our attention, and a few other kind of facility related agenda items. And I will kind of echo what Ms. Hollenbach said, is that you know, we really get to talk about a lot of details in that environment, and for anyone in the public that's has the time to join, it's in that conversation that you're really able to speak directly and have a flowing conversation with the individuals that are there. So I would definitely recommend joining us, and we do that monthly, and we welcome attendees anytime you are interested for facility-related items. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sporny. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. Mr. Cirillo.
Our next policy meeting will be on March 23rd at 6:30 in this boardroom. Hope to see people show up to that. And that's all there is for that right now.
Follow up with the IU board?
Yep. Again, so actually here the Bucks County IU operates a Fab Lab in Warminster, and on Saturdays they have STEAM programs. It's well worth looking into. They do an amazing job. I wanted to call attention to, in particular, on Saturday, February 25th. There's going to be two. I guess programs. The first they're calling Fabrication Frenzy. It's from 9 to 11:30 a.m. Kids will get to do some pretty cool stuff. They will get to know the Fab Lab's fabrication machines. They have 3D printers, laser engravers, and silhouette machines. Kids will create, design, and see them come to life. And then after that, any Lego enthusiasts, they have Lego Robotics from 12:30 to 3 p.m., where kids will use Lego We Do or Spike Prime to build and create. Details and registration can be found at the buckscounty.iu.org website under the Fab Lab /events. That is it for the IU.
Thank you, Mr. Cirillo. The Neshaminy Education Foundation, do you have that information, Mr. Kovitz?
I'll give you what I can. So the big talk around the foundation right now is March 11th. The Harlem Wizards are coming back to Gym 3 in Neshaminy High School. The Wizards are going to be taking on our All-Stars. Are you one of them?
I am signed up as an assistant coach.
Okay.
So I will.
All right.
I will be providing assistant coach input.
So the Neshaminy All-Star team will be led under the partial direction of our own Kellen Sporney as the assistant coach. It is a great night out. It is a lot of fun. Tickets are still available. I think we sold out of the premium seats, but there's still plenty of other seats available. It's a great time. $15 a person, and great family fun. And the next meeting, I believe, of the Neshaminy Education Foundation is, I want to say March 13th. So I hope I'm right about that one, and if not, I will issue a retraction next month.
March 13th, you thought.
That's all I have for the foundation at this time, Madam President.
Thank you. I'm going to skip over Ms. Lafferty for a minute. Since Mr. Allen's not here, do you have anything you'd like to add for the technical school?
The only thing that I wanted to talk about with the technical school is that our next meeting will be February 27th. That's all I have. That was a much quicker report, so that's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Lafferty, anything for the PSBA?
I do. Pennsylvania School Board Association updates. So some of these are newsworthy. On February 7th, a long-awaited ruling came down in the landmark school funding case. They argued that Pennsylvania's system of funding public education is inadequate and inequitable. The judge actually ruled in, I believe it was 800 pages, that Pennsylvania has not fulfilled their constitutional obligations to provide students with comprehensive, effective, and contemporary education, citing multiple disparities in high and low wealth districts. There was no specific remedy offered by the judge, so that's being led by the governor, General Assembly, and educators to collaborate to work on the constitutional violation. One other update, this year marks the 50th anniversary of Title IX, the federal civil rights law that protects students from discrimination and harassment. The U.S. Department of Education announced their intent to revise the regulations. Again, no indication of what those revisions entail, but in May, the final regulations of Title IX will be handed down and expected to go into effect this summer. And schools, universities, and colleges should expect to act quickly on those. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Lafferty. That brings us to our second public comment. Does anybody in the audience have any public comment? Any future topics that anybody on the board would like to discuss? Okay, we will start then with board comment. We will start with Dr. McGee. Any follow-up reports?
Yes, just clarifying Mr. Kovich's comments about the Harlem Wizards is a great event, and our head coach of the All-Star team is bequesting science teacher Miss Chrissy Richardson, and I'm sure Mr. Sporny will be taking directions from Coach Richardson throughout that game. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else on the board? Comment? I have two quick comments. I hope everybody enjoys their evening if you're able to go out with your significant other and enjoy this Valentine's Day. And it is Chick-fil-A week at the Neshaminy Chick-fil-A for gym night. When you go there, say red or blue. Whoever gets the most sayings gets a point for gym night. And I know how all the children and kids love Chick-fil-A. The Neshaminy. Yep, the one near Neshaminy Mall. So while I'm wearing red tonight, I will say go blue. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second by Mr. Cirillo. Everybody have a great night. Thank you.